Hello, my name is Denisio Matrenga as Pravase Rokin Prevent from Flow. And today, exactly what I want to get into is superconsciousness. So, superconsciousness is essentially a streamline of water, if you want to use this analogy, to where you are directing your consciousness towards the subconscious in a question, in a vital effort to put your energy and intent towards a question and a goal, or a cause, or whatever, and an outcome. And with this, you prompt it so much that with your intent being so focused on whatever the concept is and on the goal, which is a conclusion to that, that you can inevitably essentially just get information from the source. And what that means is a lot of people in the scientific world, including Albert Einstein, have concluded that with this tool, they have been able to seemingly get all their work done. That even Mozart, that being deaf most of his life, that or most of his music career, that he was able to use this, and that he seemingly wrote the notes in such a systematic way that was just a beautiful art. And this was after he was deaf, that he had such a clarity in his inner peace and his inner self that he could have such an advancement, have such an understanding in what his goal was. And it was almost like he was being a conduit. And that is exactly what it is, that you are a conduit for this source, for this information, for information itself. And with that, he used it to write a lot of his symphonies and a lot of his work. And all the times that people have used this tool, this super consciousness tool, have noted that essentially it is a matter of one-time work. Like, they get it down and then they don't need to make any edits. They never needed to, never had. And with this, they've made notes that it is the mind in its action of pulling upon these energies, which is just, thought forms, which thought is just different type of variations of these kinds of waves that just are, smaller or shorter. And that also affects the state of consciousness as well. But the variations are already out there. They've always been. And so all the thoughts that can be created have always been out there. And that essentially, when you prompt your subconscious being the part of the consciousness that has been to push the consciousness in a guide, in an effort to better understand the world around it, that when you get to a part past the age of 4, they tend to say that you tend to separate. That is because up to the age of 4, your creativity is so beyond that when you are only 4 years old, up to 4 years old, that when you speak and you can create stories, that all you have to base off of those stories, even if somebody asks you something and it may not be true in the answer, if they know that if they use that opportunity to have you continue on with the story, that as a child, you will use your creative potential to go on and explain it out. And what basis of information do you have that? You have so much of a minuscule amount of time in life in comparison and assimilating that information, that it is a creative wonder when you create the story and it already has a basis, because it always does. It's analogous to the world around you because you have no basis else to put it on. And so because you have less information assimilated to correlate that story to. Just simply streamlining it from the creative inner self is a conduit from this creative potential of informative source. And that exactly what you are doing when you achieve super consciousness state of being is exactly that you are going to your creative potential. And the fact of the matter is that you can go back onto it any time of your life. The only problem is that after you're 4, you are typically shown signs that will lead you to fear, that will lead you to follow whatever suit they want you to follow in, become a sheeple, and for whatever reason. And that fear and all those things leave you to casting yourself separate from that within you, because you don't have that reliance in as an extent. And so that's when people usually tend to get rid of it by the age of 4. And so with this super consciousness part of the mind, that essentially you are able to expand whatever thought form, whatever concept you wish to go on. You simply clear your mind, whether it's a state of meditation or whatever it may be, and you get yourself to be in such a clarity of focus, and then you only focus on that, and that you prompt yourself over and over and over, and you lit that almost like a vibration, like in the water. Like if you tap the water, you see rings go out, almost like that. Those rings going out are those signals of you doing that, of you setting that intention of your goal and the standpoint in which you are at. The question is the standpoint, and the goal is what you're going for. And you set that energy out there, and it casts it upon the waters. Now, these waters, if you think about it, the conscious part is the part of the iceberg that is above the waters, and the other 90% is the part of the iceberg that is below the waters, right? And that is the subconscious. It's all that 90%. And that vibration and everything, it bounces off of things, and it receives signals back because of an interference, so to speak. And by that interference, if there are things to interfere with it from the inner part of your own being, it will make the signal fuzzy. You won't get much of anything back except for a distraction. But if you simply meditate and you put the signal out, right, and then you listen to your own thoughts from an observational standpoint, but keep your mind on that goal, just be aware of the thought process of everything that's going on, but keeping your mind on that goal, on that intention, it will inevitably shake it up, almost like rippling out the waters, until it comes to the point to where you start to ponder on, oh, well, this leads to this leads to that. And when you conclude answers to your inevitable question, that it comes in a form to where it gives rise to another answer, to where you can seemingly jump to another and almost illustrate a story, and if not completely illustrate a story. And it is exactly this tool that has given scientists, given entrepreneurs, given so many people who have taken their path onto another level. It has given them the upper hand. And with this, it is a matter of using the other part of Buddhism and practices, that it's not only stilling the mind and getting to that peace, getting to that stillness of the waters, because you're 90% water in your body. You are 90% water. And in this physical being, it is all energy. If you realize that on the atomic level, it's all light, that particle is simply just light, that it is all illusory, and that on the atomic level, within that light particle, that is just a bunch of energy swarming around infinitely in infinite directions, just continually, right? Just a compact space for infinite energy. And with that, they analogize that within that realm, there is an analogous realm for that compact space. If it is to contain that, then it must be analogous to the universe around us, that there would be held a structure within it to be analogous to the world around us, for all the variations of things to be, as well as what they have been able to become and what they are still able to become. That those informative energies are held within this atom, and that thus it has to contain the structure itself within the atom. That if that is the case, and the only thing comparable that is to observation, the only thing that is comparable within this being of realm that we are in is atoms. When you see the double slit experiment, simply observing the particle has an effect to the outcome, almost as if the particle is observing you back. That if that particle is observing you back, and that is the case, then since we are able to see within our energy from our inner self, then we can only conclude that this energy, this streamline, this water in which we make ripples upon, in which we grasp information from our subconscious, that receives it from the superconscious, that it is essentially being aware of the energies inside us, which already must contain, because of awareness and observation, that simply that we have observation, and also that we can observe our inner self, our inner world, all the energies inside of us, that if that is the case, just as these atoms have observation and have a world inside of them, that we must be pulling upon that world that is inside of us. And just as Hawking has believed and gone upon his expansion of thought, when he would go on the inner self, he would go on the inner self and acknowledge that there is a world, and that he could go and explore and put all these information out because he can explore within that world. That we can only conclude that this super consciousness, this stream of information, is exactly that, from that source, from the mental, very mental part of the very mental, the blueprints of everything that is around us is already within us completely. And that if that is the case, that what we are to do with it is up to us. And then we can expand, we can always grow, we can have peace from this sort of harmony. And it's very much of a teaching experience, that it shows us patience, it shows us, what we deal with on a daily basis, and how much people not only have hindrances on them, but accept them, because that's all we do with the energy inside of us. That when you have a disability to certain things that should be innate, should be automatic from within you, it is because you accept those limits, because those limits are just as much energies as well. And so I am very thankful for you listening to me and hearing this out, and I wish you to have a great day. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and peace.